What is up, sports fans, and welcome back to another episode of Pez's Picks. I'm Jeff Hartman with Pez himself, the man with the picks. Pez, what's going on?
Jeff, we're on a heater. Baseball, basketball, 100 men versus a gorilla, the Pope. We're dialed in everything. We are, as the kids say these days, locked in, Jeff. This has been our best week since, about a month now. We've had basketball and baseball central betting, and we're dialed in. I'm proud of ourselves for taking the night off last night. We would have lost any bet we liked. Baseball and basketball have been incredibly difficult to bet. End of the season basketball and beginning of baseball. I have never seen NBA playoffs this tight. Virtually every game has come down to the last shot. So, we've changed our system on the fly here a little bit, and things are clicking. Underdogs, especially getting a lot of points. Game one, you had the Denver Nuggets getting 10.5 points from Oklahoma City. We went back and we do the research, of course, Jeff. We do due diligence on every pick we put out. One time out of the 4 times they played, they had a spread even in that neighborhood. Every other game, it was 5 or 2 points. Oklahoma getting points a couple times, that was an inflated number. And this is what we bring at Pez's Picks. We dial in, and you got to find the discounts when they're there. And then Denver comes in and wins outright. A 10.5-point dog to Joker and to Murray and to the Denver Nuggets is ridiculous. I talked about it with my associates, and I think that's the kind of gimme that we look for, and those are the ones you got to jump on.
Well, let's talk about the NBA since you brought it up. What's your take on the playoffs, and how do you think things are looking? I get surprising that Cleveland's playing the way they are, and it's not like they've been getting blown out, but it's just crazy. They were one of the top teams heading into the postseason. What's your takeaway on the playoffs in general?
I was talking about it late into the night last night with my associate, the Action Man, one of my oldest gambling partners, Jeff, going back into the 90s with this kid. We used to go play the money wheel at the casino. We talk about that a lot, but that's a desperate move. So I think Cleveland, a little bit of an injury bug. I also think they have incredible players. But when I assess Donovan Mitchell, star of the Cleveland Cavaliers, 24 points a game, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. I mean, you guys legit. He has one speed, and it appears Cleveland Cavaliers have one speed. They play fast. And once we get into the playoffs, the officiating has been entirely different. We've had close to bench-clearing brawls in multiple games. It's going back to a 15-year ago, 10-year ago physical league again. And I'm not quite sure if Cleveland is as physical and capable to play that style of basketball. In the regular season, you can't sneeze at the guy without getting a foul called. It is a more physical, a more, they're letting the game go. And I think Cleveland runs into trouble that they can't change pace of the game. They have to be going at full speed. And Indiana is hot. And I think we're seeing a lot of these games. Teams that played long Game 7 series come out in Game 1, Game 2, and they're still firing on full cylinder. Teams that had big layoffs. We saw with Minnesota last night. Boston, we saw Knicks, Oklahoma City, Denver. Long layoffs for a gambler, and we talked about on Instagram a little bit. We love long layoffs. You're going to be rusty, right? I mean, Boston had a historically bad shooting night. The Knicks end up winning the game outright in overtime. Boston missed 45 three-pointers. They took 60. So, that's exactly what we were looking for. We didn't have the guts to take New York. I feel bad about that because I love Brunson. That guy to me I haven't seen a player like him since Allen Iverson. A cutthroat, give me the ball. I mean, this guy is balls to the walls. He is an assassin on that court right now. And that team's playing better defense than we saw the entire regular season. I believe New York Knicks were 0-10 against the big 3, big 4 teams in the league. And, they come out and they shock Boston a little bit. Denver, Oklahoma City, same thing. Oklahoma City did not shoot well aside from Gilgeous-Alexander. The rest of the team kind of stunk. So, and I had Charles Barkley talking about this. We'll go back to Sunday. Actually, I think we're going back, to Sunday. Houston, a great regular season team. They can't shoot. Barkley got them on them at halftime. In the regular season, you can drive to the hole. You can create buckets. You're going to get calls. In the playoffs, you have to hit mid-range jumpers. You have to hit threes, of course, but mid-range jumpers are going to win you championships. And there are teams that can do that and teams that aren't. Golden State can do that. Indiana can do that. The Knicks and Boston can do that. Denver, not so sure if Oklahoma City, that's their style of play, but I still have them chalked up as the best team. Minnesota did not prove they could do that last night. So you have to take a lot of other things into account. Your system has to change in the playoffs for the NBA. It cannot be your same gambling algorithm used in a regular season. It's not even the same sport. It's not even comparable to regular season. And I think seeding, you can throw that out the window at this point. Boston, best team probably in the East. I don't know about the West yet. I'm not sure if Oklahoma City is that team.
Well, getting away from the teams in and of itself, I wanted to bring up something you just said. And the NHL is similar in the way that the game is officiated in the regular season compared to the playoffs. I can't stand that. If it's a foul or a penalty in the regular season, in this case 82 games for both of these sports, it should be a penalty or a foul in the playoffs. I don't like it from a gambling perspective. I really don't like it based on the fact that, like you said, Cleveland, an up and down team, not very physical. They're letting teams get away with murder. Well, now their record, which was pretty pristine in the regular season, kind of looks like smoke and mirrors. Now they might turn it around, but I hate that. And in NHL, I know hockey, you don't like to touch hockey and dabble in it, but still, there are times where the officials last 2 minutes of a game, they put the whistles away. You could kill a guy on the ice, and that's actually happened, unfortunately. And they're not going to call anything. It's insanity to me how that changes. I don't think football is that way so much. Just me. That's just my thoughts. But still, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I love hockey, Jeff. I wish we could bet it, but we've talked about this. That's a fluid sport that they're hiding injury reports as well. We talk about this with MMA. People ask us all the time, why don't you put a play out on that? I love hockey. I played a ton of hockey growing up, street hockey, not so much ice hockey, but hockey breeds hide injuries. They don't flop. So you might have a star player out there carrying a concussion, a broken hand, they're not going to put that out because you can physically beat people. So that alone shies me away from betting playoff hockey. And hockey it's an odd sport. It's a rhythm sport. The best team doesn't always win in hockey. And I agree with the officiating. It's very difficult to know on a hockey night how they're protecting stars. Are they going to call fouls against Crosby that they call against some guy that a third line defenseman or something? And that's tough to judge. Similar with basketball, I cannot believe the amount of physical play they're allowing. I can't believe it. It has benefited the New York Knicks, who this whole season I challenged their defensive ability, and they have stepped up and are beating up on teams. Same thing for Golden State. Very physical win last night. Even without their star, Curry leaves in the first quarter. He's a little bit injured. And Cleveland, I don't know. They look a little gun shy. They don't look. Indiana could be the team that gets through in the East. I mean, that team is hot. Halliburton is hotter than anybody in America right now. And we're seeing physical play. It reminds me, and I was talking with my old guys, Allen Iverson took a team to the NBA championships, and they get a win in LA. I think they lose 4-1 in that series against Kobe, and I believe Shaq on that team 20 years ago. But you had one guy, and you had four guys that play defense. You had one shooter. And, teams that can play simple basketball, Indiana has that with Halliburton. The Knicks have that with Brunson. Unfortunately, Golden State, Curry goes out with an injury. I don't know what's going to happen. It looked like a hamstring to me. But teams that have a system, Joker and Murray are the scorers. And now for Denver, they look like a whole different team. Teams with a system where you're playing a 5 to 8 man rotation appear to be doing better in these playoffs than teams like Oklahoma City that are playing 10, 12 guys. Cleveland, same kind of thing where you're kind of looking for buckets. You're not dialed into a system. We're going to give it to Joker. He's going to make a shot or he's going to pass it off. Same thing with Brunson. And, I love the way the NBA is playing these playoffs. I wish the regular season was like this. I get the point. Physically, these guys didn't want to get beat up like that. Career can go longer. LeBron James would not be playing at 40 if it was the 1990s, right? I mean,
True.
By your mid-30s, you were beaten down. So I see the thinking here a little bit, protect the product. But come playoffs, maybe it isn't fair. And we've been close to fights. We haven't seen this type of physical play in a long time. But I cannot believe the amount of one bucket games. Cleveland, Indiana, 1 point on Monday night. I mean, you go to game winners all weekend, and I'm pumped for these playoffs, and I feel like our system is picking out some winners tonight. We're taping on Wednesday. We've got New York, Boston. All the money is coming in on Boston, and that scares me a lot. I mean, you've got a ton of money on a team laying 10 points. We count on Boston to come out hot. First quarter, we're taking Boston quarter one -3. And I'm not betting against Brunson at the end of games anymore. This guy was unconscious the other night. I mean, when you have a guy that can create 3-point shots at will and hit more than half of them, I mean, that's a dangerous thing. I mean, that's like betting against, Brett Favre, Tom Brady, the guys that can do uncontrollable things. So Boston Celtics tonight, Wednesday night, we're taking them quarter one. Porzingis, I don't know what this guy has. The center for Boston Celtics, he's had an illness for 2 months. They don't even know what it is. He left the game. I don't think that helps him. I think their team physically is not up to the test against the Knicks without that guy. So I count him to start the game. The latest report is he's going to be playing. I mean, we're talking about a guy that averages a lot of points, 19 and a half a game, 6-7 rebounds, 2 assists. So without him and without his size, he's 7'2". I think, Karl Anthony Towns or Knicks can get a little bit more action down low. And I expect Celtics come out hot, and I think the Knicks are going to keep it close in the second half. So we're taking quarter one -3. I love that bet all day.
All right, let's take a look at Major League Baseball. We've been pretty red hot here with Pez's picks. What's your takeaway recently in Major League Baseball?
I think last we spoke, Jeff, we were maybe 2-4. I believe we're at 6-4 now. A situational gambling thing. I go back to last week. Paul Skeens plus 185. You take that all day. Very proud of ourselves last night. And gamblers like to remember their losses. I like to remember games that we wanted to play that we didn't. You had Skeens last night in St. Louis, only -115. That alone is the reason why we didn't take that play. When you have arguably the best National League pitcher, I mean, 1-2. I mean, it's him and Yamamoto in LA at only -115. You got to caution yourself a little bit there. That to me smelled like a trap game, and it was. We have seen
he's never beaten the Cardinals.
A shocking thing, right? I mean, how is that? Some players have this with teams, right? And maybe it's a hitting coach thing. Maybe who knows what it is. I've never seen a flip-flopping season like we have in baseball. The Braves started out, looked like they were done. Looking at them right now, I mean, I think they're, in their last 10, I mean, they had a pretty shocking. They're 6-4. I think they were on a 7 or 8-2 run. The Mets have come back a little bit. They're 4-6. Phillies have come up. In the American League, Boston one day looks like a World Series team, and then for 5 games they look terrible. So, and I'm shocked at some of these teams, Jeff. The White Sox still stink. The Angels still stink. And there are teams that have already kind of forfeited their season. We're already seeing $400 and $500 spreads to take teams when you're betting against the White Sox, when you're betting against the Colorado Rockies. You're laying a ton of money. And I think in early May, you cannot be laying $500, bet 500 to win 100. You can't be doing that. I mean, this is a time of year where we're still kind of feeling things out. And we're proud of ourselves for going in conservatively. And you can't lose money if it's not on the table. And we're proud that we're kind of limping into the water here. When you go into the ocean, I'm a proponent, Jeff. You sprint right in there and you do a cannonball into the first wave. You kind of risk heart attack as you get a little bit older here. But when you're gambling, tippy-toe in the water a little bit, and we've been really proud of that. We're at about 65% in both sports, and we're going to be happy to get that up to 70. I think coming soon.
All right. So before we talk about some shenanigans and golf, we always finish with golf. I want to talk with you a little bit about the Kentucky Derby and what your takeaway was of that race, what you think with the Preakness coming up. Let's talk some horse racing, Pez. What do you think?
That Derby, I watched it, Jeff. It just didn't have the feel. Of course, I watched it. It was rainy all day. I mean, they were down about 30% capacity. I was explaining to my son, I've been there a few times, and he goes, that doesn't look too much fun. I think the Derby lacked energy this year. That track was mush. It did not appear to affect the front runners very much. I have to give it to Sovereignty's jockey. He found a untouched kind of dry runway to kind of get forward. We consult for a lot of guys, Jeff, including our CEO. I gave him a few horses. I gave him the number 2 and number 3. So we're patting ourselves on the back for betting the second and third best loser. But at the end of the day, Kentucky Derby's awesome, right? I mean, that was a great race. Unfortunately, Sovereignty is not going to run on the Preakness, so we're going to have to start all over and kind of try to find things. And I think it's going to be an entirely different race. When you have a mud race, and they were running it about, I watch when they're walking those horses out. When guys' shoes are disappearing up to the laces in mud, that's a whole different ball game. And I'm glad none of the horses got hurt. But what a race! I mean, what a day. Uh, Preakness, entirely different thing. That is the shortest track. It's kind of like a gladiator fight, and that'll be next week. We're going to have to punch some numbers and see what we're going to figure out. Much smaller field too, which I think helps a lot of these horses. Out of the gate, the horse we like, Citizen Bull. I don't know if Baffert instructed his jockey to do it. He cut in. They give you about a gallop or two to collide into each other. If not, they call a foul. He took 4 horses out of the gate, Jeff. So I think that totally affected the race. I think he said, screw it. I am not getting trapped on the rail. I'm going to take you all out with me. And he led for a while and then he died. But, at the end of the day, we remind everybody, horse betting, it's fun. You can use all the data you want, but it's a crooked sport. I mean, there's horses drugged. I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on in that sport. You got guys from all over the world coming in. You got Saudi money. You got European money. So at the end of the day, it's fun, but let's not bet the house on this. Let's remind everybody of that as well.
All right. So again, before we get to shenanigans, you want to talk about a big NFL move today that had an impact.
Well, Jeff, before we get there, Jeff, we have live gambling going on right now. We put a video out. We have made a selection in the new Pope, Jeff, which I live right behind a Catholic church. I can see it out my window, so I'm qualified to teach this or to talk about this as a Catholic. The Pope is one of the most bet upon things. Up to date, we have half the amount of money bet on the new Pope worldwide that we had on the Super Bowl, Jeff. So this is a gigantic thing. We had people questioning whether I was going to hell or not this week. Listen, I like all the popes, okay? I'm not here to question Jesus or any messenger he has, what have you. Pope, I love them all, but we got to put bets out. So as we speak, there are 133 cardinals. They're currently in the Vatican, Jeff. They vote in the Sistine Chapel.
Oh, so they're actually doing the voting today, Wednesday.
Today's one vote. You have one vote on Wednesday. And the way this voting works, it's one of the biggest groups we've had. 133 are going to select one of their own. You need 2/3 support of the voting body to become the next pope, 2/3 or more. So generally, first vote fails. They're in the Sistine Chapel. Is there a better gambling arena than the Sistine Chapel, Jeff? We have to bet on this. It's the most beautiful betting venue in the history of the world, right? So they're locked in this room. They let out white smoke, I believe, if the Pope is selected in black. It's white or black. I don't know which one. But we'll get it at the end of the day. I don't know if it's happened. We have favorites. I mean, there is a lot of money put into this, and I mean, there's tens of millions of dollars invested on it. So, of course, they're punching their data. We've got some insight, Jeff. We haven't had an Italian Pope since 1978, and last I checked, that Vatican, it's in Italy, right? So the two of the front runners are Italians. We've got Pietro Parolin, the odds-on favorite at plus 225. He's the Vatican diplomat. From what I read, Jeff, he's a little bit of a nerd, a little bit of a guy that he follows all the rules. We are going with Matteo Zuppi, the Archbishop of Bologna, considered the street priest. He was best friends with the Pope that just passed away. Plus 600. I think that's the greatest Pope bet I've ever seen, Jeff. So we're going to go with an Italian since 1978. There are two other front runners, and I like this. I like diversity, Jeff. I'm a New Jersey guy. We love diversity. We've got Luis Antonio Tagle, plus 325, a Filipino priest who could be our first Asian Pope. And we have an African gentleman, Peter Turkson, plus 650, could be the first African Pope. I don't think the church is there yet. I think they're going to go back to an Italian Pope. Italy needs a little help right now. They're taking some, a little bit of beating in soccer world. So they're looking for an Italian Pope. They need to get pumped up. We're going with Matteo Zuppi, new Pope, plus 600. I'd get on that bet right now.
Well, I never thought I would have someone discussing a Pope and odds in the same segment, but yet here we are. And so we'll see if I think it takes a couple weeks, though, doesn't it, for them to actually finalize a Pope?
Well, on average, we get 5 to 6 votes. So the way this works is you get one vote Wednesday. They're locked in, Jeff. They can't speak to anybody. They have a dormitory in the Sistine Chapel. They're going to sleep. There are 4 votes a day after the first day. So Pez's picks. We're full service, Jeff. We go gambling on everything. Okay, you're gonna 1.4 billion Catholics around the world. Their messenger. We got to bet on this. I mean, this is 25% of the world's expecting this. And I don't think it's against the rules. Maybe it's a mortal sin, gambling. I don't know. I don't know if my wife's more Italian than me, so she's waving to
That'd be
me
a
not to
V.
talk to her. But
Nielsen or whatever that's called, the
maybe,
lesser
maybe.
than.
I know some priests, Jeff. I see them at the bar. They lay a couple shekels out on some games. So maybe gambling's illegal. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But Zupi plus 600, street priest. He's a guy that is a priest of the people. And as the Catholic Church expands into poorer areas in Asia and South America and Africa, I think they need a guy like this Parolin guy. He appears to be too fancy, Jeff. So we're going with Matteo Zuppi, the Pope of the people, and I love it, Jeff. I love this guy.
All right, fair enough. Now, outside of Pope talk, you wanted to bring up the trade that occurred on Wednesday morning. We are recording this on Wednesday, but still, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they trade George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys, which hurts you a little bit because I know it's the NFC East getting a little bit better. I'm here to try and talk you off the ledge and make you understand that the Dallas Cowboys might have just traded for a headache. So what's your takeaway on the trade, though?
Jeff, as a Philadelphia Eagle fan, we know the whole world is against this, Jeff. The whole world. Aside from Philadelphia Eagle fans, not one person sees me in my velour tuxedo with the Eagles emblem, if you can't see me. Not one person said, hey, great win. Of course, people like the Brady, the Chiefs. The Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that I like, Jeff, collusion. We're calling collusion. I'm ordering the FFSN legal team to get on this. A third-round pick for a caliber of player like Pickens is highway robbery. Jeff, on a third and a fifth? What is this? They're giving away arguably a top 5 receiver, right? I mean, this guy is a legit.
I don't know about that.
He's a stud, Jeff. This guy's a stud. He's probably better than CeeDee Lamb. I have no idea what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing. They brought in a headache guy. I think Pickens is better than your guy from Seattle.
DK Metcalf?
I'll take Pickens over Metcalf. I think Metcalf's a little crazy, Jeff. That guy doesn't run proper routes or anything. I have. Is this saying to Aaron Rodgers, screw you? I mean, we had 2 A-list, potential Pro Bowl receivers. Now we're going to trade one away and get nothing in return. I don't know, Jeff. A third-round pick, that's fine. The Philadelphia Eagles will rise above this, Jeff. The Steelers can give them all the players they want. Philadelphia Eagles taking that team down. I agree with you. A headache, but the Pittsburgh Steelers, that Antonio Brown proves this. They get the most out of headache receivers. So I don't know. Was it a financial thing? This is a guy probably going to demand $30+ million a year, and we talk about on Pez's picks a lot. That's too much money to invest in, receivers, and especially when you don't have a quarterback. So I don't know. How do you feel as a Pittsburgh Steelers expert here? I mean, what's the situation?
I'm fine with it. I really am.
Okay.
He is a headache. He's not the guy. I would take DK Metcalf based on what I know about him over Pickens. Pickens is a young player. He's in a rookie year, final year of his rookie contract. So Dallas has said they're not going to negotiate a new contract with him. Okay.
Oh.
So you're going to have him for 1 year, and then you're going to have to either pay him a ton of money, whether it's in a franchise tag or whether you're going to give him a new contract. And he could say, I don't want to play on the franchise tag. And then he's dealing with all the other stuff. How's he going to do with CeeDee Lamb? In Pittsburgh, he's never had a true other receiver. Deontay Johnson was not that guy. But listen to this. His rookie year in 2022, 52 catches, 801 yards, 4 touchdowns. 2023, 63 catches, 1,100 yards, 5 touchdowns. Last year, I thought it was one of his worst years as a pro. 59 catches, 900 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's it. So my question is, now he got doubled a lot because they didn't have another bona fide wide receiver option. But my concern with Pickens is that the Steelers do not like to cut ties with players unless they absolutely have to. This tells me that this guy was a bigger headache than we even thought. So what we know in the public is not what they know behind closed doors. So in that regard, hey, the Steelers, they're not going to do much this year anyways. They're playing for next year because they're going to get their quarterback next year. They're getting a lot of draft picks for that 2026 draft. I think that's just what they're going to do.
I'm checking right now, Jeff, to see if this has affected their season odds to win the Super Bowl. It has not at this point. Plus 4,400. I get a lot of that's action based. I would argue Pittsburgh Steelers try to win the Super Bowl every year, and this is a move to not win the Super Bowl this year. If they get a quarterback, whether it be Cousins or Rodgers, I think that team they had the weapons to get there, right? I mean, the AFC. Not what it used to be. Kansas City is not the unbeatable team it used to be, in my opinion. So Who are they getting next year? They're going to trade up to take Archie Manning at 1, or I don't know. I don't know if this is, and I agree, a headache, and better to cut your losses and then let this guy go at the end of the season for nothing possibly. I think they got a third, a fifth, and maybe a 2027 pick or something like that. I read, but I don't know, Jeff. I don't like waving the white flag before the year goes.
Well, don't sleep on them potentially trading for another receiver. There's already been some names being floated around: Romeo Dobbs from Green Bay, Alan Lazard, and especially if your boy Aaron Rodgers comes to town, he might want one of his buddies. So,
well, I think Amari Cooper, if they pick him up, then I'm still gonna blame them for collusion to try to help the cockroaches, which I never thought. I never thought my Steelers would collude with such a horrible franchise, Jeff. The Dallas Cockroaches, I think President Trump's on this. They killed President Kennedy, Jeff. I mean, President Kennedy, and he was in Dallas. It could have been the owner, Jeff. I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't alive yet, but couldn't send a headache guy to a bigger headache locker room. What are the Cockroaches thinking? They have the worst locker room in the history of professional sports. Not one leader on that team on the offensive or defensive side of the ball. That's going to be an implosion. Maybe you're right. Maybe this helps the Philadelphia Eagles. Those guys aren't going to get along. Lamb, and they're going to be arguing for catches. Their running back situation there, blah. Dak Prescott, blah, blah, blah. So I feel bad for the Steelers fans. So I think they were excited to have those two receivers.
Yeah, I'll be all right. Okay, let's talk about what's really important. Let's finish up the show with some golf. Because the PGA Tour's coming to your backyard. They're going to be at the Philly Cricket Club. You going? See anything?
I've been there once, Jeff. I played that thing, and the greens are smaller than my living room, which isn't too big anyway. But I'm not going to go. Probably an expensive ticket. I'm not sure. It's a private club, Jeff. That's what we call mainline Philly, which stands for dollar signs. That's Villanova type of people, Jeff. You got not an animal on your shirt like an eagle. They got to have an elephant or some sort of fancy animal on their golf shirt. But a fun weekend. I've got some ideas on this, Jeff. We have a local guy, Justin Rose. I believe it was the U.S. Open he won in Philadelphia. I know he won a major there. I think it was, I can't remember the course right now, Jeff, but right around the corner from the cricket club.
Wasn't it Medina or something like that? I'll look it up.
It's slipping my mind, and I'm checking to see, is he playing this week?
I don't think he qualified for the signature events, and that's what this is.
Even with the second, he didn't qualify. Okay, so I was thinking about him when we was putting the show together. So I don't see him on the list. Jeff, that was my guy. That was my dark horse. So without him, how can we not go with Scheffler? I mean,
he's not playing either, Pez. Gosh, get with it. Marion Golf Club, the Marion Golf Club.
Oh, Marion. Bought a house there, Jeff. The guy has a house in Marion, Justin Rose. And so neither guy's played. How could this be a signature tournament without Scheffler? I mean, what is
it's the same reason why Rory, after the Masters, didn't play in the RBC Heritage. He took that week off because he's playing in Zurich. Scotty plays in Texas, dominates everyone. And then he wins. He's like, I'm taking the next week off, and I'll see you at the PGA at Quail
I don't like these signature tournaments, Jeff. I liked it when they played every week. You put that golf tournament on. You had one of the top 10 guys, usually a handful.
Nah, this is a great field, Pez. Hold on. I'll read you the top 5 betting odds. You ready? Rory McIlroy's plus 450. Colin Morikawa plus 1400. He's got Joe Griner on the bag. The guy that Justin Thomas kicked off his bag is now with Colin Morikawa. Xander Schauffele plus 1600. Ludwig Oberg also plus 1600. Justin Thomas, who's playing some great golf, plus 1,800. I mean, you've got some really great golfers. This is a great field. Yes, no Scotty, but Justin Rose not playing in the tournament doesn't move any needle at all for anyone.
The problem I have with these tournaments, it's kind of made it a little bit stale. Where you get Jordan Spieth winning the John Deere, in the middle of nowhere. You'd get some. The Napa, you get Phil playing in Silverado and Napa Valley, right? Nowadays, it's kind of too overmanaged, I think. It's a micromanaged PGA at this point. I can't believe the damage the Saudis have done.
Oh, my gosh. Stop talking about it, man.
I can't take it,
Stop talking about it.
I watch these tournaments, and I'm bored of it. We got Scheffler, we got Rory. Having said that, small greens, that course is tight. I think Morikawa and Justin Thomas are primed to be. I mean, you have great odds, plus 1,400, plus 1,600. I love them in that situation. It is a iron player's course. your irons have to be dialed in. These old Philly courses I mean, that course is probably over 100 years old. So tiny greens. It's tough to go against Rory, but we're only getting 400. I say Justin Thomas and Morikawa plus 1,400, plus 1,600. If you can get those two wrapped into some sort of plus money play, I love that.
Yeah. So I'm coming off one of my best weeks ever at the Byron Nelson. I got Scotty as the outright winner, Jordan Spieth top 5, Sam Burns top 5. Those are plus 360 and plus 550. And I even had a group winner. I've been getting into that. There's some money to be had there. That the one I won there was plus 350 odds in the group F winner. But this week I've got Justin Thomas at plus 1,800 as my favorite. Wyndham Clark, who won the tournament when it was the Wells Fargo in 2023, at plus 4,500. So I'll take a flyer on Wyndham Clark. Those are good odds.
He's been quiet last month or so, but I think he has a win under his belt already this year, doesn't I think
Clark
might have won.
He's got a couple top 10s, but I don't think he has a win yet.
Not a bad play. Checking the weather. I think we might get a little wet though. And that's something that, with Austin, I mean, could it have been easier for Scotty Scheffler? The guy lives 5 minutes from the course. He's sleeping at home, lift clean in place. Jeff, you give Scotty Scheffler lift clean in place, everybody just go home. Right?
They didn't have it on Sunday. There was no lift clean in place on Sunday. That was Friday and Saturday. And everyone got to do it, not just Scotty.
Well, we've got rain, Philadelphia, possibly a little Thursday, Friday. We're looking like a washout in Philly. So, and I think that behooves a veteran player. I love Morikawa with that type of caddy, a guy that's going to calm you down. I mean, and I on Saturday we could have him playing 2 rounds, so I think that's going to help a fitter guy. Old guys beware. I love Thomas. I love his comeback. We need that guy. We need that type of energy. And Morikawa's due, right? I mean, he's probably statistically top 3 golfer in the world. The guy hasn't won in 2 years, so I think Morikawa. I like his chances with this one.
All right. Well, my goal to have you talk about the PGA Tour without mentioning Liv failed once again. We'll try again next week. But do you have any final thoughts before we call it a show?
Jeff, 100 men would die. Okay, we've had the tail of the tape. We punched in the algorithm. The gorilla is minus 125. KT Smith and I, and maybe our management, I don't want to throw them in this, but we're in conversations with North Korea, with some other dictator-run countries to put this together, Jeff. We're FFSN could possibly host this event. I think we get 100 poachers who go around killing these wild animals in Africa. We put them in a ring against a gorilla, and we see what happens. I'll take that gorilla, Jeff. And I hope he rips them all apart. Poaching, death to all poachers, Jeff. These are amazing beasts. The greatest thing about this conversation, silverback gorillas are hunted, Jeff. They hunt these things now, which is insanity. A 2,000-pound strength can lift 2,000 pounds. There's no way 100 men are getting anywhere near an 8-foot wingspan, 500-pound beast that can run 25 miles an hour with 2,000-pound lifting strength. Death blow after death blow. I love the conversation. We're going to get deeper into animal versus man conversation because the sharks are out too, Jeff. The sharks have killed another person on video in Israel. A horrible video, man, like faces of death. I'm worried about these sharks. They're getting closer. I can hear the ocean as I speak, and every shark attack, I get all the surfers in my area. They don't talk to me for a week. This is something you're not supposed to talk about. But we're going to continue animal versus human. We'll punch that. We'll have odds on all these things, and maybe we'll get this together. Maybe KT Smith gets it together, and we get these 100 poachers against a gorilla. I'll be there, Jeff, front row.
All right, very good. Well, Pez, been a great show. Thanks for your time as always. We'll talk next week.
Later.